मान लेंगे हम कोई गुलाम तो नहीं, हम कोई गुलाम तो नहीं। एक रब को मानते हैं, उस नबी के उम्मती है, पास है कोई आम तो नहीं, हम कोई गुलाम तो नहीं, हम कोई गुलाम तो नहीं। क्यों लगे ये बोलियां, क्या हम बिकाऊ माल है, जाग गई है कौम अब लोग बाकमाल है। क्यों लगे ये बोलियां, क्या हम बिकाऊ माल है, जाग गई है कौम अब लोग बाकमाल है। हुक्मरानी गैर की एब्सोल्यूट नॉट, खुशहाली कुछ देर की एब्सोल्यूट नॉट। जो भी हमसे टकराए उसको जान लेंगे हम कोई गुलाम तो नहीं, हम कोई गुलाम तो नहीं, हम कोई गुलाम तो नहीं।
हम तो ये गुलाम को नहीं. We are nobody's slaves. That is the theme in one of the campaigning anthems being played by and for the Insaf, Tehreek-e-Insaf party in Pakistan. And that is a contextual narrative. Although short, but it is a contextual narrative going back to August 1947. The context that we set out 3 years ago, that the 75 years since August 1947 that have passed in the subcontinent, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, the 75 years have been spent squandering the very important opportunities and options and duties to deliver independence to the people. Now, what happened on the 23rd of December 2010 in the Brick Lane area was very much a part of the campaign for real independence. Now, K. Jordan, who was the person that built up the two things in the east end of London. So after the awareness raising campaign that began with the mobilization of opinion in the community following the murder by a racist white and a mental slave black boy who has not been examined, whose role has not been examined, but whose role must be examined in due course. Black meaning the Afro-Caribbean boy who was a mental slave, and those two stabbed the Bangladeshi Altabali on the 4th of May 1978 in the Whitechapel Road. Whitechapel Road is part of it, of course, is parallel to the Hanbury Street and not far from one Hanbury Street. So the awareness raising campaign itself was marred, interrupted, sabotaged, but it was not eventually defeated because the awareness about racism, racist attacks, partly raised, not completely, but partly raised in the various events that took place immediately after the murder of Al-Tabali in May 1978. 2 months later, in July 1978, in Hackney, another Bangladeshi called Ishaq Ali, who is older than Al-Tabali, was murdered by racists. And we marched. We marched in Mayor Street and we marched in the side roads in July 1978. So when I rang from the Greater X Street restaurant, I rang the Montefiore Center asking about where K. Jordan was at the lunchtime of the 23rd of December 2010. I was told that she was in Montefiore Center, but she was upstairs. Now, anyone who knows about the architecture of the Montefiore Center knows that it's not a very kind of well kept building. It's not well maintained. Architecturally, it is not the best of architecture. Obviously, it wasn't designed by K. Jordan, but she was improving it, maintaining it, and so on. And she was the one that, although she didn't have to do anything physically, for all the years that she was in charge, leading the Spitalfield Small Business Association, K. Jordan did the work of 12 people, while the 11 others took thousands of pounds at her expense. And one of those was the mental slave, Aziz. I won't call him Chaudhry because Chaudhry was abolished in Pakistan, not in India, but in Pakistan immediately after the August 1947. And the credit goes to the 3 or 4 Siloti activists in all of Pakistan. The leadership came from Silotis, from Biani Bazar, who rebelled and organized successfully against the system of zamindars and landlords. And it led to the Pakistan government passing legislation abolishing forever this Chaudhry title. So anyone who calls themselves Chaudhry after, let's say, 1951 is a liar. Anyone who calls themselves Chaudhry after 1951 is a liar. Quite apart from the fact that most people who call themselves Chaudhry would not have been entitled to call themselves Chaudhrys because they didn't have the land and the titles. Most morons call themselves Chaudhrys even now. So we should talk about the unique role of these 3 or 4 Silotis from Biani Bazar. In due course, not in this particular edition, but we shall do that. So this Aziz, the mental slave Aziz, Beiman Aziz, was allowed by K. Jordan to sit there and draw a salary, which is a dubious thing because this criminal was also supposed to be the chair of the board of the Spitalfield Small Business Association, which is a contradiction. So this criminal shitbag got hundreds of thousands of pounds from the SSBA over his entire career, which would not exist without K. Jordan. And I had to go and sit there waiting for K. Jordan to come down from the upstairs so that we could have lunch on the 23rd of December 2010. And I had to engage in conversation that I wouldn't have wanted, whatever the subject, with this Gulam Fua Aziz. Hey Gulam Fua, remember, Shaitan Gulam Fua, remember what you have done? Shaitan Gulam Fua Aziz and the Shaitan Fua Sanumia, Chanumia, born in 1977, Maghalur Fua Maghal. So these two I had to tolerate having to have a conversation with while waiting for K. Jordan to come down from upstairs in the Montefiore Center on the 23rd of December, Thursday. So eventually we had the lunch, and although it was meant for two, the lunch was shared by these four. One of the things that happened on that day was that a mental slave criminal from Kenya called Edith, employed at the SSBA, was exposed to have conspired with a mental slave boy called Imran Ahmad. And they fucked up the contents of the SSBA's submission for a contract, renewal of the contract with Tower Hamlets Council for managing the Montefiore Center, which the Montefiore Center was owned by the Tower Hamlets Council, and the SSBA had been on a contract managing it for several years. And it was allegedly on the basis of the managing of that center that Gulam Fua, the slave boy, Aziz, was getting the salary, while actually the work was being done by K. Jordan. So it was revealed that that new application for it was a bid for a contract for management for the next fiscal year or whatever, was fucked up by this boy Imran. And he had collusion with this Kenyan mental slave cunt, Edith. This was the conversation. And even the mental slave boy, Beiman, Chanumia boy, admitted that K would sack Imran immediately, and anyone else who messed up the report. Now, I shall discuss the contents of the report another time. Suffice to say that K was sufficiently convinced that I would not approve of some of the things that were in the original document. So she knew the standard that I maintained, and I insisted on. So in the email, she sent with the copy of the report. What did she say to me on the email? Let's see what K said to me on the email. Only K would write that to me because she knew exactly what standard I insisted on. So that is the email that she sent. The email she sent to me Yes. Well, one email she sent to me at 11:23 in the morning on Thursday, the 23rd of December, 2010. She said she was tired. I mean, that is the constant consequence of her doing work for 12 people. She's very short in that one. I'm in, that is, she was in the office, but very fragile. It would be good to talk, and within brackets, listen. And then she signed herself as K, just the initial K. And okay, so the another date, it was an earlier, on the day before, that was the 22nd of December 2010 at 5:54 p.m. K. Jordan sent me the email writing, "Here is the document that was attached. Long story. We'll tell you later." And then she goes to the actual crux of what she correctly understood my attitude would be. If you can't stand the quotes, please don't read them. Now, that was a reference to the people that she was kind of citing as experts and etc. etc. She knew that she had to do that as a decoration to the report. And she knew that I won't be able to put up with her. She said, if you can't stand the quotes, please don't read them. The thing is, I think they've gone against their own policies. By them, she's referring to Town Hamlets Council. One is about consulting on change of use, community buildings, and the other is about procurement processes. C clause 6.20 and 8.11. That was in the report. So we shall talk about that another time. Now, that was December 2nd, 22nd of December. So that was December, 2 months since Luthraman became installed as so-called executive mayor. But there is no evidence. There is absolutely no evidence in the behavior of the procurement process there, etc., uh, of the recognition by Luthraman and his so-called regime, the crooks, of the existence of the community. And Luthraman, a complete and absolute liar, he did not talk to K. Jordan because his handlers knew that K was absolutely independent and was solidly working in the Khoodeelaar campaign. So we'll talk about that in context of the thank you, the bribing meeting that bribery meeting that Luthraman attended on the 15th of February 2011 at 164 Brick Lane. To thank the bribing women who had been misled into thinking that Luthraman would deliver for the community, etc., etc. So they were misled into organizing voting for Luthraman in October 2010. The meeting that was held to thank them, the bribers, or the bribed ones, was, of course, months after K. Jordan had become absent. A gulam or gulam, gulam fuain or gulam fudin, they will not be allowed to get away without being totally held to account for the lies and lying and treachery and betrayal. So when we had that meeting, the luncheon and meeting, K. Jordan was furious with this boy, Imran Ahmad, and she would have sacked him. That was the last time that I had any meeting with K. Jordan. When I spoke to her the last time on the telephone, she said something I'm not going to put on the record, not yet. And I'll never forget those three words. K. Jordan and the kittens. One of the three kittens, one of the three kittens, the ginger one, we took him to be seen by a bat in the Camden, Kentish Town area where K. Jordan lived, a new bat or bats. And I'm always seriously skeptical of bats, to put it mildly. So I let K take the cage into the bats, and I stayed in the minicab that we had hired. And Kay came back with the kitten, and she said that the kitten Ginger would not let the bat touch him. He was very kind of defensive. The Ginger was the one who all his life was in precarious health. And it is absolutely because of my skeptical attitude, and my lack of trust and confidence in any vet, that I didn't take him to any vets after that. So the story of the three kittens and the story of Ginger and the leader boy and the middle one is an absolutely unique story, full of divine blessings and also the opposite. And what happened in the absence of K. Jordan? K. Jordan became absent for me after the 23rd of December 2010. So this is December 2022, the 12 years since K has been absent. Now the criminal Gulam Fua Aziz and the Gulam Fua Sanu would not have existed if they did 1 millionth of the things that they did while they were under the leadership in the SSBA of K. Jordan. Hey, Gulam Fuain, you will pay. You will pay for the lies and the treachery and betrayal. Gulam Fuain, Shaitan al Fuain. I'll not call you Kukurur Fuain. I'll call you Shaitan or Fuain. Because in the Surah Al Isra, the real villain is the Shaitan, not any of the animals. So it's very hard to get rid of the practice, cultural practice, the habit of associating bad things with some of the animals' names. And I'm doing my best to try to not call any of the evil ones by associating them with any animals. K. Jordan, although she's physically absent, she's spiritually here right now. And K. Jordan is an absolutely unique personality with exceptionally high level of compassion and dedication to the well-being and welfare of other people, always at a cost to our own health and welfare. Just before that particular lunch, well, not just about, maybe few weeks before that lunch of the 23rd of December 2010, Kay had a meeting with me at 170, no, 164 Brick Lane. Yes, 164 Brick Lane. In which meeting she wanted my opinion on about, she had a list, a printout on each of the companies set up by criminals in the mainly Brick Lane area, the Bangladeshi connections. But she didn't know them individually, of course, as well as I did. So she sat down with like a, it wasn't a big table, but it was a table. And on the table, she spread each of the printouts. And she said, tell me which one is which one, which one is connected to which one. So I created the connections. On the jigsaw, I created a jigsaw, and she was so, well, Kay was always, well, she may not have been at the beginning because she didn't know my style and my manner and my approach and my kind of unique ability to get things truthfully right. As she grew familiar with their style and pattern and approach, she kept expressing to me the wonder and amazement that I got these things so right. And she told me that she told the crew at the SSBA crew that she led about how many things I did amazingly correctly. Now, this is the point that these evil ones, Shaitan Fuad Chanumia and the Shaitan Aziz, may have thought that I forgotten or I didn't emphasize. I created uniquely an immigration case concerning the nephew of Hardeep Kaur. There is absolutely no record anywhere in the whole history of the United Kingdom of such a case being solved by anyone. And I didn't do anything like going to the court or anything. I just made a phone call to the creep Stephen Timms, one of Newham's two MPs. This creep is so stupid. For almost 15 years or even longer, this fucker had sat on the case of his constituent, which is what Hardip Kaur was his constituent. And this fucker didn't know the actual evidence staring him from the document that he had been sent by Kaur. So for 15 years or so, Hardip Kaur's nephew was a non-existent entity. He didn't exist. He was not an illegal immigrant because he didn't even exist. So he could not be given any citizenship entity or whatever. So K is the one that asked me to help Hardip Kaur with her Kaur's nephew. And all I asked was give me the letter, the correspondence with the MP. So that happened, let's say, within 48 hours. I mean, she gave the letters to me and I read them. And within half an hour, I spotted the cracks of the idiocy. So I rang up or sent an email, whichever it was. I haven't got the records in front of me. Steve and Stupid Tim's parliamentary secretary or whatever. And I said, why the fuck have you been sitting on it? Have you not noticed? There was no reply. If you remember, most of my questions are not answerable. They're unanswerably high. I said, get on with it. And within 24 hours, Hardip Kaur got a letter saying her nephew existed and he had been recognized. Now, this was a nephew in his 20s now. And from the age of 8 or 9 or whatever, he did not exist. And I made him come to life. Now, K typically said, I told Hardip, Mr. Huck has cracked it. And I had. So all the criminals that I have helped, all the criminals I have helped, and Hardip became a criminal because after K. Jordan became absent, Hardip joined the other crooks and criminals. But now Hardip is dead because of cancer or whatever. But she was a traitor as well. She was a traitor and an idiot. Well, had she not been an idiot, she would not have allowed Stephen Timms to keep her hanging about her nephew for 15 years or so. So every single word that I say is true. And every single thing that I relate is true. So K. Jordan told me after she came back from the verse with the ginger one that he would not let the bat touch him. Now remember, the ginger was physically so weak as compared to the majestic one, the middle one, and even the leader one. The leader one and the ginger one were, in terms of the design on their furs, were the mirror opposite of each other. when they were kittens. I mean, the pictures that I took, like each one mirrored the other. The leader boy was black fur, and the ginger boy was ginger fur. But the design was perfect, symmetry. And the majestic one, that K called the leader, middle one, the majestic one, he was so beautiful. I mean, it's beyond description. And so K. Jordan said he's majestic, and he was majestic. So, because of these three kittens, I moved to 164 Brick Lane from my flat because the flat was one room and there was no space for the kittens to live in. And the story of the kittens in Brick Lane is the story that is at the center of the essay. And the center of the essay will be continued. So this is the now what is the time now? 15:36, and we have been 36 minutes 42 seconds on air. This is of course the anniversary in Pakistan of the birth of Qaid Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was born on the 25th of December. And in the Christian kind of mainly Western countries, this is the Christmas, but there is a lot of controversy about this. And of course, to believing Muslims, I mean, this is a complete, absolutely made up thing. But we tolerate and let them do their cultural thing. I think that this is a cultural event more than a religious event. We shall be coming to the second part in less than an hour.